Hello, welcome to Health Talk. I'm Dr. Manny. Whenever we turn on the news, we're bombarded with horrific stories. In fact, according to the FBI statistics, there were nearly 15,000 murders in 2015 alone. What is behind this? Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman is pointing the finger to video games. He's here to discuss his new book, Assassination Generation, Video Games, Aggression, and the Psychology of Killing. Welcome,
Dr.
sir.
Manny, how you doing? I'm a big fan.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Welcome. Very interesting. I have spoken in general terms, you know, about video games and aggression, but you kind of really created a very, very interesting book, and I think this is a must-read for parents, especially parents of young children.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about your background a little bit.
Yeah.
Why such a personal project for you?
You know, I began studying the topic of killing. I wrote the book on killing. Marine Corps commandants required reading after 15 years of war. Army and Air Force recommended reading. And when I began to become aware of how we teach soldiers and cops to kill, how we have to condition them to be able to pull the trigger, to overcome the resistance, we realized that video games doing the same things to the kids.
Right.
And then I was in Jonesboro, Arkansas, professor of military science, when the Jonesboro school massacre happened. We thought of my son's school. It came home.
So it came home to you.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people are going to say, and I think you know, you do outline it in the book, what's the evidence between video games and violence?
Right. You know, we have longitudinal data, we have experimental data, we have correlational data. The American Academy of Pediatrics says media violence is the most remediable factor. It's the one that if we did something about it would have the greatest impact on violence in our society. In a 60-minute Vanity Fair poll, 84% of the population believes that this is having an impact. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. In July of 2000, the AMA, the APA, the American Academy of Pediatrics made a joint statement, both houses of Congress, said 30 years of research, 1,000 sound scholarly studies have proven the connection. It's just irrefutable.
No, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think the connection is black and white.
Yeah.
And if you look at, you know, there were video games back in the early '70s, you know, Pac-Man and things like that. But when you look at the technology of video games today, the sophistication, the 3D imagery, I mean, you can really embed yourself in a situation that becomes real to you.
Yeah.
Now, one of the important chapters in the book is called The Human Brain on Violence.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
Violent visual imagery inflicted upon children. The written word is different, the spoken word is different. But violent visual imagery inflicted upon children makes fight or flight hormones flood to their brain. We've got brain scan data coming in from across the planet with the same results. In the book, we show the brain scan data from Indiana University Med School that demonstrates this. And we also demonstrate that after 2 or 3 days, we can detox a kid and get an amazing impact in just a short period of time. The classical conditioning, the opera conditioning can last for a very long time. But we can have an enormous impact. The first 2 days, the child is miserable. They're going through withdrawal symptoms. But on the 3rd day, it's like somebody threw a switch.
You mentioned before the psychology of killing. What is that?
You know, there is a study of the dynamics of getting healthy people to pull the trigger. And we have found, my book on killing translated to 8 languages, 500,000 copies sold now, same publisher. The book on killing outlines how we've got to be able to take soldiers and cops, make killing a conditioned response. It's B.F. Skinner, it's operant conditioning. And we know that. We have a science to it. We do it to adults. We do it very carefully. We put safeguards of discipline on it. But anybody who's been in the armed forces or law enforcement in the last 50 years, you don't shoot bullseye targets. You shoot a man-shaped silhouette, a photorealistic target. We go to the qualification range. We no longer shoot at bullseye targets. We shoot at pop-up targets. We hit the target drops. It's B.F. Skinner. It's straight-up operant conditioning. And a frightened human being will do what he's conditioned to do, like a pilot in a flight simulator, like a child in a fire drill.
And that's exactly what a lot of these video games are doing to kids.
Exactly.
Exactly right. You're training them almost to the exact causation.
And so you know, one of the big things is the bullying. It's not just the acts of violence. It's, you know, all of us remember when we were a kid, that bully who sincerely took pleasure in making us suffer. Well, there's many, many more of those kids out there. It's not just conditioning killing. It's teaching them to take pleasure from human death and suffering.
Right.
In healthy play, when somebody gets hurt, the play stops.
Right.
In the video games, you're rewarded for inflicting pain.
Exactly. You know, you hit. I mean, you know, I'm 1,000% with you.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What can we do?
Well, you know, we outlined informing parents. The state of California tried to pass a law, and what happened to the Supreme Court, we outlined the Supreme Court findings on that, and powerful dissents supporting regulating the video games to children by Justice Powell, probably our most conservative justice, and Justice Stephen Breyer. I believe it's the only time those two men have dissented on the same side, outlining the enormous data in the background that says we got to regulate these. Several other justices said, you know, we withhold the right to come back to this topic later as the technology evolves.
Yeah.
So the primary goal right now is educating parents and educating children. Stanford Med School demonstrated that TV turn-off curriculum, pioneered in a K through 12 school, turn off TV, movie, and video games for 10 days, cut violence in half, cut bullying in half, and raise test scores double digits. All in the book.
It's fantastic. Where can people get more information in the book or pick up the book?
You know, all bookstores, major publisher, Little Brown and Company, all major bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's major push.
All right. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful book. I think Assassination Generation is a must-read for parents, especially of little children, because we do have a problem, and the Colonel is addressing it very strongly with good data and good information. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Manny.
Thank you. And if you have any health questions, tweet me at Dr. Manny on Fox. Until next time, I'm Dr. Manny.